They know but are not telling you that the upper tectonic plates of Earth also join in the Pacific.
I thought I'd take a break from conspiracies to promote evolution and conspiracies to fake climate change to tackle another conspiracy of evil scientists to hide from us the fact that our Earth is expanding. Once again, this isn't just a hypothesis, according to its adherents, it's the irrefutable truth. The idea that the Earth has been expanding dates back to the 19th century as a way of explaining another scientific hypothesis, continental drift. But with the advent of plate tectonics, the expanding Earth idea has gone the same way as the flat Earth and the Earth-centered universe. In other words, some people still believe it. And now that we live in the age of the Internet, where wacky ideas can be spread by anyone with a pulse and a keyboard, the expanding Earth idea has been revived.
My name is Joe.
Okay, not yet, Joe. Apart from Joe, a creationist who thinks the expanding Earth explains the biblical flood, there's also a living geologist attached to the idea, James Maxlow. But nearly all the messages I got alerting me to the expanding Earth flummery referred to this video by comic book artist Neal Adams. It shows very slickly just how well all the continents fit together as we reduce the size of the Earth.
No twisting, no form-fitting.
Well, let's be honest. Quite a few places do have to be squashed to make them fit, like Alaska.
No altering shapes or sizes.
Not quite true either. Adams has taken the shapes of the continents as they appear in an atlas. But these are just the parts of the continental crust that are above sea level. In fact, the continents are bigger, and their shapes are different, because the true edges are the continental shelves. But never mind that Adams got the shape and the size of the continents wrong and had to squash them to make them fit. That's not what really debunks the notion of an expanding Earth. 2 years ago, when someone first messaged me about the video, I wrote to Neal Adams with a simple question. If the Earth has been gaining all this mass, where does the extra mass come from? The answer I got referred to superheated denseness, like a giant electromagnetic engine creating energy like a small confined sun. And no, I couldn't make head or tail of it either. It certainly didn't explain where the extra mass came from. So let's try James Maxlow, the geologist who's been advocating the expanding Earth theory for over 30 years. If anyone can explain where the extra mass came from, he can.
So where did all this mass come from? I don't know.
Oh. So if Maxlow the geologist doesn't know, I suppose we've got no choice but to have another stab at Neal Adams. I asked again about... Not now, Joe. I asked again about where the extra mass came from. Eventually, I got this. Pretend we have pipes going to the core, and as you convert hydrogen to helium and release more energy, we pump more prime matter down the pipes for that new energy to impact in new pair production, cooling it down. Now we make more helium and pump in more prime matter. That's how it works. Prime matter has in-facing fields and can flow anywhere. What this tells us is that Adams thinks nuclear fusion, which takes place in the centre of stars, is taking place in the centre of the Earth. Pair production is real enough, when energy condenses into a positron and electron, but these particles are short-lived. They aren't atoms, and they turn back into energy in a fraction of a second. And what's prime matter? Well, Adams says it's some sort of potential matter floating around in space, and you can't see, touch, or detect it. It was first theorized by... No, not Einstein. No, not Hawking either. It was first theorized by an ancient Greek philosopher, Aristotle. I tried to understand what this imagined substance might be. Adams grew increasingly frustrated as he tried to explain it to me. Imagine nothing. A force pulls outward on it, spin, to make it less than nothing. You get undetectable bubbles distributing the pressure. The bubble is an electron. At its centre is a point particle we call a positron. Actually, we call it a positron too, Neil, if I'm thinking of the same positron that you are. If you pop the point positron out with a high-energy photon, you will get matter. So if you put the whole thing together, it's bubbles of nothing going down pretend pipes into a mini-sun at the centre of the Earth. I'm probably not explaining it any better than Adams is, but then I don't have a clue as to what he's on about. This is New Age hippie speak, not the language of science. Adams assured me that the reason I don't understand it is because I've been brainwashed by science, and I'm just not thinking.
different materials.
Let's go back to
So
Maxlow,
what I'm
who
suggesting
says
is
he
we
doesn't
have
know
this,
how new matter forms either. But of course that doesn't stop him speculating.
Whatever the sun is made of,
Whatever the sun is made of? It's made of hydrogen and helium. Oh, whatever.
this blob of pure energy, whatever, plasma, whatever.
The sun isn't a blob of pure energy. It's a concentration of hydrogen that's fusing into helium and releasing energy in the form of heat, light, and radiation. A similar blob of energy, Maxlow speculates, is found at the center of the Earth, and the new energy is converted into matter. Only one problem. When fusion takes place, because that's what we're talking about, matter is converted into energy. So if you then convert that energy back into matter, there's no net gain of mass. It's rather like having an electric car with a generator that charges the battery and using the battery to run the car. You just can't do it. Leaving aside the question of whether we actually have nuclear fusion happening at the center of the Earth. Okay, now, Joe.
Oh, dropped my ear up in 80.
Never mind, we'll come back to you. 2 years on, and I checked Neil Adams' website again. He's still sticking by his theory and still bristling at any criticism of it. But even the imaginary blobs of energy and bubbles of nothing are not the definitive answer as to why an expanding Earth is absolute nonsense. The reason we know the Earth isn't expanding is because we can measure it directly. And there's no sign at all that the Earth is growing, or has been growing since these measurements began. On the other hand, we can measure uplift in mountain ranges by several millimeters a year and along tectonic fault lines, and these are entirely consistent with plate tectonics. Remember, it was when plate tectonics came along that the idea of an expanding Earth was discarded as a way of explaining the drift of continents. Plate tectonics
We're faced with a very serious situation in this generation. There are insane people who wish to rule the world. They wish to continue to rule the world on violence and repression. And we are all the victims of that violence and repression. We, as the indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere, have been resisting this violence and this oppression for 500 years. We know that the black people have been resisting it for at least that long. And we know that the white people have had to endure it thousands of years. And now it's come full swing to this generation that we live in. Nuclearization of the world. You see, this cannot be, we cannot allow this to continue to go on. We cannot do it. You see, and we cannot expect that the pro-nuclear oppressor, that other side, we cannot expect that they're going to change for us. They are going to become more brutal. They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power. We have to reestablish our identity. We have to understand who we are and where we fit in the natural order of the world, because our oppressor deals in illusions. They tell us that it is power, but it is not power. They may have all the guns and they may have all the racist laws and judges and they may control all the money, but that is not power. These are imitations of power, and they are only power because in our minds we allow it to be power. But it's all an imitation. Racism and violence, racism and guns, economics, the brutality of the American corporate state way of life is nothing more than violence and repression, and it has nothing to do with power. It is brutality. It is a lack of a sane, it's a lack of a sane balance. The people who have created this system and they perpetuate this system, they are out of balance. They have made us out of balance. They have come into our minds and they've come into our hearts and they've programmed us because we live in this society, and they've put us out of balance. And because we are out of balance, we no longer have the power to deal with them. They have conquered us as a natural power. See, we are power. They deal in violence and repression. We are power. We are a part of the natural world. All of the things of the natural world are a natural part of the creation and feed off the energy of our sacred Mother Earth. We are power. But they have separated us from our spiritual connection to the earth. So people feel powerless. We look at the oppressor and we look at the enemy because they have the most guns and the most lies and the most money. People start to feel powerless. We are power. We are a natural part of the creation. We were put here on this sacred Mother Earth to serve a purpose. And somewhere in the history of people, we're forgetting what the purpose is. The purpose is to honor the earth. The purpose is to protect the earth. The purpose is to live in balance with the earth. The earth is our mother. And we will never free ourselves as human people. We will never free ourselves as sexual people. We will never free ourselves until we address the issue of how we live in balance with the earth. Because all of our resistance and all of our struggle is hollow, it's false, it's another one of those oppressors' hypocrisies. If we do not look out for the welfare of the earth first, because I do not care who it is, any child that turns on their mother is living in a terrible, terrible confusion. The earth is our mother. We must take care of the earth. They pollute. This oppressor, this machine that has gone mad and run amok, it is berserk. They keep telling us, progress. They keep telling us face